If you remember our 1-year update, we still had plenty of food to harvest over here, but the weeds did kind of kick our butt this year. This is what's left of our summer garden. So as you can see, we've got cardboard down, and then we mulched with some straw, and in some spots we doubled it up, and we even put some mulch down, and still the weeds ended up winning. So this time we're trying a different technique where we use mulch instead of hay, and instead of cardboard boxes, we're using this. This is just a cardboard-like paper that you can get in the paint aisle at any home improvement store. Comes in a big roll like this, normally between 24 and 36 inches apart, which is perfect for in between your rows. So that's pretty much what we did, is we put this paper down in between all of the rows, and it seems to be working okay. There's a few weeds popping up here and there, but they're pretty easy to pull out. So in addition to that, though, we noticed that the grass was starting to creep along the edge here. So we decided we're gonna go ahead and do a full perimeter around our garden and actually make a almost like a hill, a little bit of a buffer zone between the garden and the rest of the yard. All right, and then there's this really cool tool called the ram board cutter, and all it is just a razor blade and these little spring-loaded covers here, pieces of safety metal here, and yeah, it makes a really nice clean cut on these. Get started, of course. There you go. All right, so this is what the final result looks like. So we've got this nice, actually I'll do this. You can see that there's this nice hill here, and this hill actually goes all the way around. Now I'm gonna even some of this out because the kids raked it up for me. And so you can see we've got this row, really hard to see. You can see that we got this row right here that's up high, and it's the same height as this. So basically, we've just put an entire perimeter of mulch all the way around the garden. So we'll let you guys know how that holds up this year. So actually, this is a really good example as to why that paper is so amazing. So as you can see, the mulch is not very thick over here. And actually, you can see the paper right here. You got one little tiny weed. See how easy that came right out? But yeah, you look at this garden, and it's pretty much weed-free except for a few of these tiny little things that come right out. But then you go right next to it. We did not put the paper down on this row or on this row, but the mulch, this mulch is super thick. I mean, look at that. Look how thick that mulch is. But yet, what do we got growing up? Right there. Because that paper's not there to smother it out. Same thing with this row. So what we'll probably end up doing is we'll go ahead and actually rake some of this mulch up, put the paper back down, and then put the mulch back over the top of it. I guess learn from us. It doesn't matter how thick you make the mulch, the grass will make its way through, unless you got something that can smother that stuff out. Now, this stuff's gonna break down over time, sure, but that's the point. The point is that it'll smother the things out, it'll break down, it'll feed the worms, and then later on, if we come through and we want to rebed some of this, we're not having to pull up plastic, because that's probably what a lot of people are going to say is, why don't you just use plastic? Because it's a mess. I got neighbors down the road who are doing commercial plots with plastic, and after 1 or 2 seasons, their fields look like trash because they've got all of this faded messed up plastic all over the place. And even though they come through with a tractor to try to pull it out, they just can't clean it up very well. One of the other things that's great for this, especially if you're just starting this thing out, and you got clay soil like we do, then what you can do is you can actually go ahead and put the cardboard down. You can go ahead and put your mulch down, and then you can make your little furrows for planting in between the mulch. And then you can actually just take some bags of soil and run it along in between the two berms, like Alicia did here for these radishes. And now radish seeds, they're really small, really tiny. They're not going to probably pop up really well in clay soil. But as you can see, these radishes just popped right up. So just another little tip of what we're doing this year, and maybe you can try it as well. Now, one of the next more obvious questions is, where am I going to get all of that mulch? So you can't spend quite a bit of money on mulch if you're going with a nursery that has the finely chipped landscaping mulch that's dyed and chipped to a certain consistency. If you're going with like bark or something like that, and obviously if you go and you're buying bags of mulch that are only like 2 cubic feet, yeah, you can spend quite a bit of money on mulch. But I would recommend that you call around and you try to find somebody who doesn't have, your landscape quality mulch, that has some junk mulch of some trees that were chipped up, because that's really what you want. You don't want the stuff with all the dye in it, and you really don't need it to be super fine. In fact, the bigger chunks they are, slower it's going to break down over time. Another thing you can try is a website called Chip Drop, which I'll put a link to that in the description below. We didn't have much luck with Chip Drop, and we still haven't received a single Chip Drop after being on it for over 5 years. So I think it really just has to do with the location that you're in. But there is another option, which is start stalking the local tree companies that you see. And that's what we did, and we had really good results, as you can kind of see behind me. So you're not going to need this much mulch. You saw how huge our garden is, and we barely even used, it was out to about here. So yeah, we've used quite a bit for our garden, but we still have like 3/4 of it left. So what you can do, and what we did, and what resulted in us getting all of this mulch right here, and then some that you don't see because we've already spread out a bunch of it, is I actually put my phone number and address on the windshield of, I don't know, maybe three or four different mulching trucks that I just saw as I was driving around. And yeah, I just said, hey, drop your mulch off here, put a $sign on it. And then when people come, make sure you just have a couple 20s ready, and maybe have some cold waters ready, or a Gatorade or some type of beverage ready. And when you do get mulch, have your mulch fund set aside. And when they come, go hand them a 20. You know what that'll do? They'll normally say, no, I'm not going to take that. I'm not going to take that. And insist that they take it. Because what they're going to do is next time they have mulch, they're going to think about you because you just made an impression on them. So yeah, that so far has been the best strategy for us. And so this is probably, I don't know, maybe a couple $1,000s worth of mulch if I had to go buy it. We've probably given out maybe $100 or so worth of cash, just tipping them every now and then. We don't tip them every time, so it doesn't seem like it's, that it's a guarantee. If you can, great, go for it. If you really want tons of mulch, then yeah, tip them every single time. But yeah, we just tip them sporadically here and there when we see them and we're around. But also just make sure that you got some type of sign in your yard that says where you want the mulch dropped, so they don't have to wait for you to drop it. The more convenient you make it for them, the better. So if you enjoyed this video, if it was helpful to you, then give us a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, share it with your friends who are also doing some back to Eden gardening. And if you're curious about how our new strategy pans out, then definitely follow our videos and content, as we will be posting updates as things start to turn along here on the homestead. Thank you for watching and for your time. Have a great day.